They told him to stop dancing. They said his celebration was disrespectful. They said if he wanted to dance samba, he should go back to Brazil. They abused him racially, match after match, stadium after stadium, and with monkey chants and gestures that dehumanized him publicly in front of millions of people. And Vinicius Junior kept dancing, not defiantly, not as a performance of toughness, but because the dancing was the happiness, and the happiness of the specific, genuine, deeply personal happiness of a young black Brazilian doing exactly what he was born to do, was the one thing they could not take from him. And he understood that protecting that happiness was not just a personal act, it was a political one. Today we break down exactly what that took psychologically, and why it is one of the most powerful acts of resistance any human being has ever demonstrated. On a football pitch. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to PsyWealth Richie. Today we are covering someone whose story I think goes further than football and lands in something more fundamental, something about what it means to stay yourself, completely, joyfully, unapologetically yourself, when an entire system is trying to make you smaller. Vinicius Junior, United Nations human rights champion, Real Madrid's most important player, and the man whose happiness became one of the most powerful symbols of resistance in modern sport. If you are new here, subscribe. Now let's get into it. Vinícius José Paixão de Oliveira Júnior was born on July 12, 2000 in São Gonçalo, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He grew up in genuine poverty. His family had very little. The football was the way out, the specific path that poverty in Brazil has sent so many extraordinary talents toward. He joined Flamengo's academy. At 16, he was already being described as one of the most exciting young talents in South American football. At 18, for a fee of 45 million euros, he moved to Real Madrid, the most famous football club in the world. And what arrived in Madrid was not just a footballer, it was a person, complete, joyful, fully formed, who brought with him the samba, the dancing, the infectious happiness of someone who understood exactly how lucky he was to be doing what he loved. And that happiness, that complete, authentic expression of joy, became the thing that certain people in Spanish football decided they could not tolerate. Here is what I think most people miss about the racism Vinicius faced in Spain. The racial abuse was not random, it was targeted at something specific. He said it himself, the thing that upset so many people was the happiness of a black Brazilian, not the goals, not the dribbles, not the performances that were dismantling their teams, the happiness, the dancing after goals, the joy that he carried so visibly and so completely onto every pitch he entered, the specific, culturally rooted, personally authentic expression of who he was as a person. That is what they wanted to take. Because happiness, particularly the uninhibited, culturally expressed happiness of a young, black man who has no interest in making himself smaller to make others comfortable, is threatening to people who need you to be less than you are. Vinicius understood this. He said, "I'm already happy that I'm being able to change Spain's mindset. Not I am happy despite everything. Not I am happy in spite of what they did." He framed his happiness as an active force, a changing force. The very thing they wanted to destroy was becoming the instrument of the change they feared. Here is the psychological concept I want to build this video around, because I think it is one of the most important and least discussed ideas in performance. Psychology, joy as resistance, the deliberate, conscious, sustained maintenance, genuine happiness in environments that are specifically designed to suppress it. Most people who face sustained hostility, sustained attempts to diminish them, to make them feel unwelcome, to communicate that they do not belong, respond in one of two ways. They either fight with anger, with aggression, with a hardness that eventually costs them the very qualities that made them extraordinary. Or they shrink, they become careful, they edit their expression. They make themselves smaller in the hope that becoming less visible will reduce the attacks. Vinicius did neither. He kept dancing. He kept smiling. He kept being completely himself on the pitch, in his celebrations, in his interviews, with a fullness and a freedom that said more clearly than any statement that no amount of hostility was going to reach the place inside him where his joy actually lived. That psychological choice to protect your joy as an act of resistance rather than suppress it as an act of self-protection is one of the rarest and most powerful things a human being can do under genuine hostility. Here is where Vinícius' story goes beyond football entirely. He became a United Nations human rights champion, and in that role he said something that I think is the most important thing he has ever said publicly. He said, "I believe that anti-racism education must be at the heart of our efforts to advance equality and human rights everywhere. Sports must have zero tolerance for racial discrimination. That means every institution should have reporting mechanisms in place and tackle discrimination without reservations. Victims should be supported, not victimized further." That statement, delivered by a 23-year-old who grew up in poverty in Rio de Janeiro and was being abused racially by football crowds in Spain, represents something extraordinary. He took the experience that was designed to diminish him and converted it into a platform for change, not just for himself, for every person who has been subjected to the same treatment and had no platform from which to respond. He said, "I am already happy that I am being able to change Spain's mindset." The joy that they tried to take from him became the very thing that changed the conversation. Courts in Valencia sentenced 3 men to prison for their racist abuse of Vinícius. Precedent was set. The system was forced to respond because he refused to stop dancing. Here is something about Vinícius's performance psychology that I think is the most practically instructive element of his story. Despite everything, despite the racial abuse, the hostility, the months of being the most targeted player in La Liga, his performances did not drop. They improved. He remained one of the most dangerous and decisive players in the world. And the psychological framework underneath that, sustained performance through conditions that would have derailed most players completely, is captured in one of his most repeated pieces of advice. Focus on yourself and lock in. That is the entire framework. Not manage the noise, not respond to the critics, not protect yourself from the hostility. Focus on yourself, lock in, redirect every ounce of attention that the hostility is trying to claim way back into the quality of your own performance, back into the 2 hours on the pitch where the football happens and the joy lives. And let the results, the goals, the performances, the moments of brilliance do what words and statements never fully can. Speak for themselves. And now I want to speak directly to you, because I think the psychological lesson of Vinícius's story is one that applies to every single person watching this, regardless of whether you have ever experienced racism or ever will. Most of us face some version of an environment that is trying to take our joy. Maybe not through racial abuse, but through criticism that targets not what we do, but who we are. Through hostility that is less about our output and more about our existence in a space where certain people would prefer we were not. Through the sustained message delivered in different forms, from different directions that we should be smaller, quieter, less ourselves. Vinícius's answer to all of that is the dancing. The thing they specifically told him to stop. He kept doing it not because he was oblivious to the message, but because he understood clearly, psychologically, powerfully, that the dancing was not a provocation. It was an identity. And his identity was not available for negotiation. Find your dancing, the specific, authentic, joyful expression of who you are that certain people in certain environments are trying to suppress. And keep doing it, not aggressively, not as a performance of defiance, simply, genuinely, because your joy is yours. And no hostility, however sustained or however public, has the right to reach the place where it actually lives. Vinicius Junior grew up in poverty in Rio de Janeiro. He moved to Real Madrid at 18. He faced racial abuse in stadium after stadium. He was told to stop dancing. He kept dancing. He was told his joy was disrespectful. He said his joy was changing Spain's mindset. He became a United Nations human rights champion. And he kept scoring goals, winning trophies, being completely himself, in every room, on every pitch, through every hostile environment that tried to make him less. That is the joy-resistant psychology, the specific, powerful, politically significant act of protecting your happiness, not just for yourself, but because your happiness is the most honest signal available, that you belong exactly where you are. Subscribe to PsyWealth Richie. Share this with someone who has been told to stop dancing. Tell them to keep going. We will see you in the next one.